Good morning. My name is Lisa, and I am so excited to be together this morning to tackle a topic that I have found evokes a lot of emotions, from confusion to frustration to enjoyment to encouragement. People have a lot of varying views and experiences on Sabbath. So wherever you're at on the spectrum, whether you're like, I've never even heard of that word before, or my grandma kind of talked about that, or maybe there's a vague idea of what it is, but you have no idea how to put it into real time, or maybe you already have rhythms of rest in your life. Wherever you're at on the spectrum, that's okay, because we're going to cut through all of that and go right into the Bible and see what God has to say about Sabbath and rest. And that really is the goal of our series this summer, is we want to go right to the source and say, okay, God, what do you have to say about Sabbath and rest? And so as we get into, before we go into the Bible, I want to just real quick paint a backdrop of our culture today to be able to compare and contrast why Sabbath and rest are even mentioned in the Bible, okay? I do not have to convince you, in our American culture, I do not have to convince you that we are running at an insanely fast pace, right? You feel it, I feel it. We feel the exhaustion of it. And it didn't take very long for me to just research a few facts and say, oh, wow, there's validity to what we're feeling. This is fascinating. As an American culture, we work more hours in a year than any other industrialized country in the world. And at the same time, we take off the least amount of time for vacation or rest. So we have quite an imbalance, and we're feeling that. Also, technology is coming at us at an extreme pace, right? We have information, we have messages, we have marketing, we have opinion just flying at us. When I was trying to figure out the average time that Americans saw technology, it ranged from anywhere about 7 hours to 12 hours a day. And that's how much is just bombarding our souls and our minds. So we are in a fast-paced culture. Also, underlying Americans, we have this we need to be productive, we need to be efficient, right? You feel it at work, you feel that pressure, but we even feel it on the social side. Think about it. When you ask someone, how you doing? They usually say, I'm good, but I'm busy, right? You hear that a lot. It's almost like we wear it as a merit badge. Yeah, I'm really busy. I'm doing. In all areas of my life, I'm worthy. Look at all that I'm producing. Look at all that I'm doing. And in that, we think as Americans that it's more. If we work more, if we do more, we're going to have more freedom. We're going to have more choice. We're going to have more money to do all these things, right? But the statistics are showing there's a lot more burnout, a lot more anxiety, a lot more depression, a lot more anxiety, a lot more isolation, suicide, and medical problems are all on the rise as we're just running so hot in this pace. I know for me personally, I hit a wall in 2017. 2016 was an extremely stressful year for my family. We had a lot of adjustments, a lot of big stressors, and we were literally going at 100 miles per hour. I'm a full-time teacher. We have 2 young kids, but also my husband's work world, and we were just flying. And we got to the end of that year, and my adrenaline started to come down okay, we're okay. And my body just rebelled against me. I broke out in hives and red welts all over my body. And we couldn't figure it out. I'd eat something, I would react all over my body. I'd get stressed, the internal temperature would go up. I would just break out. It was horrible. I looked like a monster. I was I was embarrassed. And it was any allergen. It was just anything. And through many medical professionals, they all just finally said, your body's shot. Your immunity is so tanked out, you cannot handle one more thing. And I kicked into autoimmune disorder. And so in that, I feel like God come near me during that time and just say to me, you have got to rest. You've got to rest. Not only physically have you got to rest, but you have a lot of unaddressed anger in your soul, and you are just emotionally and spiritually downward spiraling. You have got to rest. And so in the culturally you're feeling it, or maybe you've personally felt it, I have learned and have enjoyed learning so much about Sabbath and rest these past 8 years. But what's beautiful as I dug into the scriptures just in these last few weeks to get ready for this message, I learned even more just by going and getting into the Bible and seeing God's heart for us. So I am excited to share with you where God's going to direct us today and encourage us. So we're going to start by seeing Sabbath through the scriptures, through time, and then we're going to land on what that looks like for us today. So we're going to start right at the beginning. We're going to go right into Genesis. And this is at the end of the creation story, Genesis 2. And we see this is God is created. He's created for 6 days, and now he's describing the seventh day. In Genesis 2, it says, "Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done." Here we see Sabbath as a model, okay, as a model. God didn't need to rest because he was tired. What he did was he worked for 6 days in creating, and then when he says he rested, that word means he finished, or he ceased working, and then on the seventh day, he chose to rest. So there's a sense of, my work is done, and in that word, if you dig a little deeper, it also means to delight. So just in a few verses before this, he said he looked around and was like, it is very good. So it's like, I'm done with my work, and I am taking pleasure in what I've done. And when it says he made it holy, holy just means set apart or to look different. And so the seventh day of rest looks different than the 6 days previous working, okay? And then we're going to fast forward through the Bible. We're going to get to the 10 Commandments. And this is a time when Moses was asked by God to come up to a mountain and speak with him. And God is saying, I am your God, and I am going to make you my people, and I'm going to give you some laws to show you my heart of how I function and how I want you as my people to operate back, okay? And so what's interesting is Moses was actually up there 40 days and 40 nights. And out of it, we got the 10 Commandments. There's also a lot of other social and ceremonial laws that God talked to Moses about. But the 10 Commandments are big ones that you probably are familiar with or know of. And the fourth commandment is here in Exodus 20. And here it says, "Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy." So here we see Sabbath as a law. He's saying, I am putting these laws into place, and this is one of the laws that I want you to do. I want you to Sabbath. I want you to model after me in the work for 6 days. Again, that is his structure. He wants us to work. Work is worship, and that is designed by God. But then on the seventh day, he wants us to rest. And this is a new concept for these people. God is calling out the nation of Israel, and he's saying, these are now going to be my people. And they're the ones that are going to have my law and access to me. It's going to look different than the nations around them. So it's a witnessing. It's showing, hey, you're holy and set apart because you're functioning different. But it also is reminding his people, like a weekly reminder, because Sabbath for the Jewish people started on sundown Friday and went to sundown on Saturday. So it's a 24-hour period. He's saying for that period, I want you to exhale. I want you to stop your work. Okay, I want you, not only you, but everyone in your household, all your animals, and even the foreigners who are in your town, I want the whole economy of this nation should just stop. Okay, just stop. Why? To physically rest from your work, but also today, it says to the Lord, so it's a time of reflection on God and worship of God and remembering God and remembering the relationship he has with his people. Okay, this is new to them. Sabbath. This is the first time we actually see the word Sabbath. They weren't Sabbathing until this point, okay? So this is a new concept to them. They're like, okay, model after the Lord. These are the directions. This is what God wants us to do. Also, in Exodus 31, which I'm not going to read, but I'm just going to highlight for you, as Moses is with God for 4 days and 4 nights, as he's about to exit down off the mountain, he brings Sabbath up again. And he says, oh, by the way, we're going to end on this note, and I'm really serious about this, so let me add to you that the Sabbath is a sign of my covenant with you. So covenant is a promise. I'm going to be your God. You're going to be my people. This is my promise. The Sabbath is a sign. Just like Noah got a rainbow and Abraham had circumcision, like there's a sign that's saying, I'm going to seal this up. Sabbath. I'm really, really important. I want you to do it every week. Remind you this is a sign of Sabbath. But also, if anyone profanes the Sabbath, put him to death. And if anyone works on the Sabbath, exile them from the community. So he's like, God's really serious about this. Like, this is really the structure I want for you. Okay? All right. And then we're going to fast forward to Jesus. So we're moving through the Bible. We're going to fast forward to the New Testament now. And we're going to see Jesus interact with the Pharisees about the Sabbath. Now, the Pharisees are a group of religious leaders, and their job was to learn the law, memorize the law, teach the law, remind the people of the law. And they were trying to keep their laws pure in the midst of all these other nations around them that had a lot of other laws and ways of operating, okay? So they're trying to hold fast to the law. Now, the Pharisees usually get a bad rap, and rightly so, because then they added on a whole bunch of man-made laws. They added on their laws on top of God's laws. I want to give the Pharisees the benefit of the doubt just a moment. I mean, this is just my opinion, but I wonder if they're holding so fast to these laws and adding more onto them. They're probably like, Sabbath? How do we do Sabbath? Like, if God wants people to be killed or exiled if they don't do it right, maybe we should put all these regulations around it, right? So they started adding hundreds of laws on the Sabbath, like how much you could walk and how much you could cook. Some of the craziest ones were this. A woman should not look in the mirror in case she sees a gray hair and needs to pluck it. Plucking a hair would be work, okay? Do not step on grass on the Sabbath because then you're threshing it under your feet, and threshing is considered work. Like in the time of the Pharisees, I think Sabbath would have been like a prison. It would have been like breathe and just like worship God. That's it. Like breathe and think about God. That's all you can do. Sit there. Like, I mean, it's just like so burdening. And so this is the scene we're going to see Jesus come in and interact with the Pharisees about the Sabbath. And we find this in Mark 2. And it says, one Sabbath, he was going through the grain fields, he meaning Jesus, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. And the Pharisees were saying to him, look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath? And he said to them, have you never read what David did when he was in need and was hungry, he and those who were with him, how he entered the house of God in the time of Abiathar the high priest, and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but the priest to eat, and also gave it to those who were with him. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. Again he entered the synagogue, and a man was there with a withered hand. And they watched Jesus to see whether he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man with the withered hand, come here. And he said to them, is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do harm, to save life or to kill? But they were silent. And he looked around at them with anger, grieved at their hardness of heart. And he said to the man, stretch out your hand. He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. Here we're seeing a lot of things happen, but I want to highlight that Sabbath is freedom. Sabbath is freedom. God is saying, Pharisees, you are missing the whole point of Sabbath. You have burdened these people with so many laws and taxing them so much that it is again, it's a prison. I am here to bring freedom. Sabbath is for man, not man for the Sabbath, meaning Sabbath is for the benefit of man. It is for life-giving. It is to reorient them back to me. It is to give them rest. Sabbath is a beautiful thing, and you've taken it and you've made it a burdensome. So I'm bringing you back to the right intention. So let me be very clear. Jesus was never against Sabbath. He's against what the Pharisees had done with the Sabbath. Does that make sense? So here he's saying, I want freedom. And then he said a bombshell of a statement. He said, I'm even son of the man, I'm even Lord even of the Sabbath. He is saying, what he's saying over this, he's saying, I am even Lord over the Sabbath. And the Pharisees would have been reeling at this point, because what Jesus is saying is, I am God. I am God. I am author of the Sabbath. I created the Sabbath. I get to dictate what the Sabbath looks like. I am the author and perfecter of that. They'd have been like, whoa, this guy's claiming to be God. Yes, he is. And another beautiful insight when he's saying, I am Lord even of the Sabbath. And this was from Timothy Keller, a well-respected pastor, who brought this insight to me, which I think is just beautiful. What Jesus was actually saying here too, he's saying, I am the ultimate Sabbath. Me. I am the Sabbath. Let me explain that a little bit. Jesus is saying, I am the ultimate rest. I am the ultimate rest. See, we are all lawbreakers. The laws were given to point us to God, but it also pointed out that we can't keep those laws. We're not perfect. We can't fulfill any of those laws. We cannot keep the laws. Those laws are from a holy God, and every time we turn away from them, we disobey, we fall short of them, we can't keep them. We're not perfect. we break those laws. And what happens when we break those laws, we have a justifiable punishment because we're against a holy God. And we can't pay that punishment. And Jesus says, I'm going to come. I'm going to pay that punishment. I'll take that punishment, and you're going to get forgiveness of sin. So the work on the cross was him taking the punishment, we get forgiveness of sin. So once we're far from God, Jesus brings us near. See, our restless hearts, we are restless because we were not right with God. And Jesus says, I come and I'm going to make you secure with God again. Your relationship is secure, and I am the ultimate rest for your soul. I'm the ultimate freedom for your soul. So Jesus here is saying, I am Sabbath. Just as in creation, God worked for 6 days, and then he said, it is finished with creation. Jesus says, I will do the work on the cross, and it is finished. It is finished when I take that punishment, and you're right with God. Beautiful. And then the cross and the resurrection happens, and now we're going to see Sabbath as a choice. We don't see Sabbath mentioned much in the New Testament, but Paul, when he does write about it, he validifies for us that Sabbath now is a new freedom. It's a new way, and this is new to me. This is a newer way of lifestyle, because after the cross, not only the nation of Israel or the Jewish people are allowed to know God, now the Gentiles are too. These are people who aren't Jewish. The kingdom lifestyles for anyone who believes in God, anyone who believes in Jesus is saying, come be part of the church, okay? So now you have all these new believers coming in with all these traditional Jewish people, and God, well, he didn't negate the law, he fulfilled the law, and what he's saying is some of these ceremonial practices aren't needed. Circumcision isn't needed in the new church. Certain foods and eating certain foods that are unclean aren't needed anymore. You don't need to sacrifice animals anymore. It's shifting. It's shifting. And all these new people are welcome. They're welcome. They don't have to follow some of these strict mandates anymore. So you see that in Romans 14:5. One person regards one day holier than the other days, and another regards them all alike. Each must be fully convinced in his own mind, so it's a matter of conscience. And in Colossians 2, he's saying to the new believers, therefore do not let anyone judge you with respect to food or drink or in the matter of feast, new moon, or Sabbath days. These are only the shadow of things to come, but the reality is in Christ. So Sabbath is a choice. Jewish people, anybody is still welcome to participate in Sabbath, but it doesn't have the strict mandate over it. Does that make sense? Okay, so what does that look like for us today? How do we apply Sabbath and rest for us today? Well, we're part of the new church. We're part of the new church. We don't Sabbath sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. We aren't like in that strict mode, right? But Sabbath and rest are still good. It's still a good principle. God just didn't get rid of all of the Old Testament. He's saying these are still good principles. It's not law anymore, but it's still a good principle, all right? And why is that good? Because God knows us. He knows how we're created. He made us, and he knows we need rest, physical, emotional, and spiritual rest. He knows we can't run for 7 days hot and then start all over again for another 7 days. Okay? In his grace, I think that's why he even made day and night, to help us stop. Just stop on a daily basis. But Sabbath is an intentional extended time just to really catch our breath, okay? And worship him. And it slows down, it gives us worship margin, and helps us find some soul rest in all of it. Rest is one of the greatest weapons against the barrage of our soul that we feel. Okay, rest is one of our greatest weapons, and God knows that. On a side note, I thought this was fascinating. Seventh-day Adventists, they're a religion that really adhere to a 24-hour Sabbath. This is science. They live on average 11 years longer than the average American just because they stop fully one time a week. Isn't that fascinating? So God already knows that. He knows how created. He knows what we need. So Sabbath is good. It's also a gift. It's a gift. This is an invitation by him and permission by him to say, rest. And as in any gift, we can choose to take that or not take that. I know. It is super countercultural to rest. We are no longer in Old Testament. Our whole society doesn't shut down for a whole day, right? It just doesn't. Chick-fil-A is like the only one that I know that just stops on a Sunday, right? So we don't even live in the 50s where things were shut down as much. It is very countercultural to carve out rest, and it is counterintuitive. What are people going to think? If I say I'm going to take a nap, are they going to think I'm lazy? If I say no, is that okay? It's counterintuitive and countercultural. But that's our God. He's counterintuitive and countercultural because He knows not only is it needed, it's a gift we can receive from him that is good. And I like to think of Sabbath not as an add-on, like add on one more thing to your plate, one more thing to do. I think God is saying it's not an add-on, Sabbath is an advantage. Okay, so it's not an add-on, it's an advantage that we can have as a gift. Sabbath and rest are intentional. They don't just happen, right? We know that. Life just keeps on moving. They don't just happen. We have to, this sounds very paradoxical, but we have to plan to rest. We have to prepare to rest. We have to not schedule. We have to look ahead and not schedule things right there to rest, right? Today, Sabbath can look a lot of different ways too, which is beautiful. I mean, ideally, it's a 24-hour period. A lot of Christians have moved that to Sunday because we come to church and it naturally looks different because it looks different than the rest of the 6 days when we come here and we have a reorientation and a refocus with God, and then it can flow out natural periods of rest. But I know people who also Sabbath half day, okay? Or maybe Sunday, that's just not an option, so you pick a different day, or you pick an evening a week. I've Sabbathed a million different ways. I've not Sabbathed, and I felt the consequences. I've really Sabbathed, and it's been amazing, right? Like, it's just like, I've played with it. But it has to always be intentional, or it doesn't happen. And also, there's never a season in your life where it naturally happens either. I've been in lots of seasons in my life. I've been young and single and flying, right? I've been young married. I've been a parent with young kids who then were teenage kids who are now young adult kids. I've talked to retirees who have grandkids. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't slow down for us. It's like, oh, I'll Sabbath when I retire. Nope, you won't. Like, you have to make it happen now, so it has to be intentional. And also, the beautiful thing about Sabbath is there's no rules in Sabbath. I like to use this framework to help me, and hopefully this will help you too. I think of rest, refuel, and reorient, okay? So Sabbath isn't just like a numb out. It's an intentionality as well in how you rest. So think of rest as this, to stop or to cease. So what in your life can you just stop? Like on Sundays, I do not do laundry. I do not work out. We try to do a simple meal. It's either leftovers or something really easy to make, or we buy out, right? It's simple. I try really hard, like, to have, like, just stop worrying. Like, the emotional capacity that drains me of, like, if it's something that can't be fixed in this period of rest, I just kind of put a pin in it and, like, I'll deal with that tomorrow because it just wears me out. Now, there are times I have to go talk to God about something that's bothering me, right? But I try to just put a pin on things and be like, I will deal with that tomorrow. Give my mind rest, okay? So it's what can you cease? I take this and I put it down. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to check my work emails. I'm not going to even text. I try to put this down for a few hours or even like half a day or a day, just like leave it alone, right? Like that's hard to do, but that's stop technology, stop ceasing. And then refuel, if you think about rest as stop, refuel is then, okay, well, what can you bring in that's good and refreshing and renews you and gives you life, right? So for me, sleep. Like I love my naps. I will literally try so hard not to schedule anything Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon because I work full-time all week and I want to sleep. I am tired. Or maybe you're not in a season where you feel like you can nap if you have young kids, but maybe sleep in a little or go to bed a little bit earlier. So what else brings you fuel? I love good food. I love a good glass of wine. I love time with my family. I love walking in nature with my puppy dog, right? What is it for you that brings refreshment to your soul? Art, music. What is it that just gives you life, that helps you enjoy life? And then reorient is a time for you just to get with God. Church helps us reorient, but also that private time. Go talk with Him. Go walk with Him. Go read with Him. Go just sit with Him, right? Just get His perspective on things. He's in control. Go back and have remembrance with Him. You've brought me this far. You are faithful to give you hope that you will take me through the rest of what I'm dealing with, right? It's that just stopping and having the security with God that He's got you. And soul rest, that you're worthy. You're enough because He does the work. You don't have to keep proving and earning and striving with Him. You just can be with Him. And that is the beautiful thing about Sabbath.
And another thing that's awesome about Sabbath is the times that I've intentionally tried to craft it out in my week, it seems to just flow into rhythms with the rest of my week. It's like Sabbath resets me so that then through my week, it's like, okay, I'm going to get up early and have my tea, just a little time with Jesus and just reorient, and a little time with Nate before the day starts. And then I get home and I grab my puppy dog and I just take a walk and I decompress before entering into my evening. And about an hour before bed, I get off my phone. It's just my rule. I try to really adhere to. Go read my book, just get off of technology. Like, I find rhythms of rest flow out of my Sabbath rest. I also love how the outflow of Sabbath, it's enjoyment. I just enjoy life more. I feel better. I'm not as sick. I'm more peaceful. I notice things more. I feel like I'm more present. Like, it's hilarious. Like, 2 weeks ago, I'm like, Nate, these flowers in our yard are gorgeous. He's like, yeah, they've been growing all week. I'm like, oh, like I didn't even notice. Like, just by sitting in my back patio and enjoying the sunshine and looking around, I'm like present. I'm more present. And I respond better. Like, you know how when you're just exhausted, it's like a rubber band, your bandwidth's just stretched so tight? It's like Sabbath gives me that slack a little bit. So then I'm like, I can love a little bit easier. I can respond a little bit better. I can serve. When a need hits me, I'm not just like, oh, it's total inconvenience, but like, okay, I have a little bit of cushion to like respond better. Now, am I perfect at this? No. Am I perfect at Sabbathing? No. But I tend, when I lean into it more, the outflow is better. And that's what God wants for us. I love Kelly Minter. She said a statement that I thought was powerful. She said, we must live more simply to live more fully. I want to say it again. It's beautiful. We must live more simply to live more fully. And as we conclude our time together, I just want to share with you an experience I had just a few weeks ago that I feel like really captured Sabbath for me. I was able to go to Colorado Springs with Nate, my husband. He had a work trip. And while he was in meetings all day, I got to go hiking, which is great because I love the outdoors. And I heard of this intense hike called the Incline, which is a mile of steps up a mountain. It's it averages a 45-degree angle, and it's 2,800 steps straight up a mountain. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Now, that might sound crazy to you, but I'm like, I want to see if I can do this. So I'm reading all the reviews, and it's saying, give yourself about an hour or two to get up it. Make sure you bring 2 to 3 water bottles and food. So this is a trek, right? And on the way there, I park in the parking lot they suggested. There's a free shuttle that takes you up to the entry point. I'm on this shuttle, and I'm asking all these people around me, do you have any advice? Have you guys done this? Give me advice. Give me advice. And one young man, he gave the best advice. He said, okay, the first 500 or 600 steps, you're going to be really excited, and you're just going to want to start flying. And he's like, don't. I passed out and for 15 minutes on the side of the incline because I went too fast. He's like, so don't. I'm like, okay, all right. And he goes, how's altitude compared to where you're coming from? I'm like, Columbus, Colorado. There's a pretty big disparity there. He's like, okay, so you're going to not be able to breathe real well, so just take it again slow or you're not going to make it. I'm like, okay, all right. And he's like, and hydrate. He's like, if you feel at all dizzy, you got to pull off, sit down, and hydrate. So I'm like, okay, thank you, right? So I get going, and I'm telling you, I'm like, slow and steady. I'm only 20, 25 steps in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this altitude is for real. And I'm looking up this mountain okay, this is going to be tough, but I really want to do this. And it was tough. It was grueling. And as I'm going, the steps are different variances. So they're like wooden planks. So some were smaller steps that were easier to tackle. And some were I'm not kidding you, this. I had to pull my leg up and push off my knee just to get up these steps. And so as I'm going, I feel like God's talking to me. And this is life. This is like life. It's kind of exhausting. It just keeps going. These stairs are never ending. I'm just plowing through. And then I would start to get a little dizzy, and I literally could not breathe. And I remember that young man's advice, and I'd pull off, and I'd sit, and I'd hydrate, get refueled. And I felt like God said to me, and this is Sabbath. Pull over, catch your breath. Catch your breath. You're not going to make it up this hill unless you stop, hydrate, fuel up, take a breath. I'm like, okay. But the other piece of advice this young man gave me that was amazing, it said, when you sit down and eat and drink, he goes, look around, because it's gorgeous. He goes, there's so many people, their eyes are on the steps the whole way up. They miss the view. They miss all of it behind them. And he goes, so just enjoy it. And each stop I made and the further up I got, oh my gosh, grandeur, vastness, beauty. And again, I felt like God welling up in my heart. And this is Sabbath. Enjoy the view. Take stock of what's around you at this point in life. It is good. It is good. And I am with you. And look back. Look how many steps you've come. I have helped you climb all those steps. I've been with you the whole way. Look ahead. I'm going to help you make it all the way to the top. That's Sabbath. Reorient yourself with me. Amazing. And you know, when I got to the top, I'm hiking by myself at the top, and I went, wow! Because I was so proud that I did it. And I had a whole cheering crowd up there, people who had gone before me cheering. And I felt like I'd say, well done. Well done. You Sabbath the whole way up, and you made it. Well done. So in that, can I encourage you? In a reflection question, how can I intentionally Sabbath and rest this week? How can we intentionally put this into practice so that we may live fully?
Thanks for watching. To find out more about our church, about when and where we meet, about joining a group, about serving on a team, about giving online, you can find all of it at threecreekschurch.com.